Hey team, how's it going? Eddie Gray here. Welcome to the channel, The Modern Creative, where we help you become a better producer. Today we are going to look at the UF8 and the Console 1 and see how they measure up to one another so we can finally decide once and for all who is the best pound for pound DAW controller right now. You ready? Here we go. Alright, so I just want to be clear that this is not going to be a review video. If you want to see my review of the UF8 or the Console 1, you can check out this video here or that one, and that will bring you up to snuff. Now before we actually get started, I do have to mention, I think you already know how we play this game. Go ahead and subscribe, go ahead and like. Listen, I put a lot of time, energy, motivation into creating this, providing information, perhaps a little bit of entertainment for y'all. And so all I ask in return is that you give it back. Oh yeah, and one more thing. I just got a really big gig with a certain company. Stay tuned for that. But I'm not going to be around for a couple of weeks. So just keep sharing the videos, keep liking. I got a massive back catalog. And if you haven't already, go ahead and check out my other channel at That Logic Pro Guy. All right, now on to the video. UF8 versus the Console 1. All right, so what I want to do today is truly compare these controllers. Look at the pros, look at the cons. Why should you choose one over the other? What makes one better than the other? We definitely want to look at the price points, things like that. I do hope that this video helps you make the best decision for you and your studio. And I would love to hear your thoughts, which one you like better and why. The Console 1 mixing system is comprised of two different units that will surely help you mix efficiently. The Fader 1 gives you great haptic control with 10 motorized faders, low and high cut capability, control over drive and character, everyday tasks like input, output gain, and my personal favorite, the ability to manipulate send 1, 2, and 3 in most DAWs. Console 1, on the other hand, is the other half of the equation, which gives access to a more detailed parametric EQ as opposed just to a low and a high cut. You also have the ability to work with transient shaping, compression, saturation, and more. Okay, so let's address some of the cons. You have to buy more plugins in order to maximize on the mixing system. So Softube is going to throw out some bait and you're going to need to buy more plugins. And listen, they're totally worth it, but if you've already invested and you're tapped out, that will be a challenge for sure. Everyone's starting to build this ecosystem, kind of like UAD. You have to buy more plugins, more hardware. So that's one of the cons of this unit. Another big con is that there is no LCD display. You do have some feedback in the form of these small, I think they're LED lights, but other than that, unless you turn on the actual display that accompanies the hardware, you're really not going to know what's happening here. So yeah, definitely a con there. Let's move to the UF8. And in the red corner, you got the UF8. This works with third-party plugins. It has loose integration, but it's still really cool. Deep programming capabilities, macro commands, which are next level. You can control volume. You can control things like pan. And with access to the 360 software, you can also control compression, gate, width, and a lot more. You do have access to all the sends and outputs, which is really crazy. I've never seen anything like that. You can determine where the destination of the input or the output are going to be set. And of course, you do have the LCD display, which is just great visual feedback. The UF8 by SSL is another behemoth in the marketplace. This controller is a mixer's dream come true, especially when you start to stack them. It comes with 8 motorized faders per unit, 8 V-pots, 8 soft buttons at the top here, and 8 well-lit screens which allow you to control and work with just about everything in your DAW. It really shines in the programming department, makes things like automation an absolute breeze. Now, even if you don't own the UC1, which I have here on the left-hand side, you can still access things like width, mix blend, and more within the UF8 by entering what's called the plugin mixer in the 360 software as of version 1.4. Okay, so I could very well talk about the UC1 as it relates to the UF8 system, but the truth is that wouldn't be a fair fight. This only controls two plugins at the moment, the native channel strip and the bus compressor. And I know some of you are going to say, oh, it controls the other version of the native channel strip. But again, they're basically the same thing. I would not want to control another third-party plugin with this. I mean, the whole point is that you are controlling the native channel strip and you're getting that SSL experience. I mean, would you really want to control a multiband compressor with this thing? All right, if you're a neat freak like me, you know how critical desk space is. So this needs to be addressed right now. The UF8, here are its digits. You got the console one and the fader one. Those go together, so there's a lot to consider there when it comes to how this is going to show up on your desk. For me, the console one system works better as far as feng shui goes. I got this little custom design thing that I picked up from Sweetwater. Both of these units are almost the same size as one UF8. Don't consider myself a minimalist by any means, but I do like things to be as neat as possible. And I also like having many items on my desk, as you can tell. And as the UF8 is just too long, it wouldn't really work here. So this round definitely goes to Softube. Programmability, this is a non-issue. There's no need to debate. The console one only allows you to program 3 buttons, whereas the UF8 is a wonderland of programming options. There's no comparing these two in that regard. I know what some of you are going to say, but Eddie, I know you can learn MIDI assignments on the console one. And yeah, while this is true, this is a funky workflow because if you want to access those quote-unquote assignments in Logic Pro, you're going to have to quit out of the console one software to access them. Makes no sense. Don't like it. Not doing it. SSL UF8, you get the dub. So round 2 goes to the SSL. Let's talk about the setup. When first setting up the console one mixing system, it was so easy. I enabled certain features in the settings, but besides that, I was up and running in no time. With the SSL, it wasn't that easy. First and foremost, most of their plugs just became M1 compatible, so there's that, but also setting up the UF8 took a bit more effort, especially when programming custom commands within the 360 software. And if you're using more than one unit, forget about it. So yeah, this one definitely goes to Softube. Workflow, best thing ever. I'm going to be straight up. Console one is faster. It just is. It's cleaner, it's easier, but the UF8 is more interesting. Console one was matter of fact. I was EQing, compressing, gets the job done. I put my work hat on and I was getting it done. But the UF8, man, I zoned out. I found myself jamming on it like an instrument. It has so many options, especially when you're editing instruments. I mean, I was just in bliss. Just kidding, but seriously though, it was a different experience, and for that reason, this round is a split decision, a draw. Let's move on. All right, relevant features. In terms of what you can use, this has to go to console one, and here's why. EQ, compression are the bedrocks of mixing. That along with transient shaping, distortion, saturation, there's no beating it. In terms of getting stuff done, the UF8 can EQ, control plugins, including third-party plugs, but the Mackie control workflow doesn't necessarily make that an easy task. Also, sometimes the parameters can be out of order, and that's just messed up. Although this guy right here can show you how to reprogram plugin information so they display appropriately on the UF8. I love YouTube. Softube 3, SSL 1. Let's move to versatility. Versatility has to go with the UF8. The fact that you can control third-party plugins is insane. Yes, you can control some UAD plugins within Console 1 using Apollo Central, but no, sorry, that just isn't going to make the cut today. The UF8 is way more versatile, so that's Softube 3, SSL 2. Let's continue here. Integration with the DAW. I can only speak for Logic Pro. This works really well on both units. The SSL has this proprietary 360 software where you could dive deep into controls, create macros, and all sorts of stuff. And for this reason, I have to give the slight edge to the UF8. Let's go to the user experience. So as of now, Softube 3, SSL 3. The user experience, this one's going to be a little bit more subjective. You see, I don't mind looking at the screen when working with the Console 1. But here's the thing. You kind of have to look at the screen, so if not looking at the screen is important to you, SSL all the way. It definitely makes you want to look away from the screen and lose yourself in the unit itself. The UF8 and UC1 have great displays, so SSL wins this one for sure. Softube 3, SSL 4. Let's talk about the price point. Because both of these units are pricey, this is going to be a draw. The UF8, which is a single unit, comes in at a whopping $1,249, whereas the Console 1 mixing system, both of the units come in at $1,300. For being digital controllers, I do think they are a luxury, not a necessity, but because you have to add the UC1 to the UF8 to make the most of this, it's a tough one, so I say split decision. All right, my final opinion, hard to say, mostly because it depends on your needs. The UF8 is more musical. It lends itself to jamming, where the Console 1 is about productivity. I think it's hard to make a wrong choice when you mix with this unit. So if you're looking for speed, efficiency, ease of use, then definitely go with the Console 1. The UF8 leaves a lot to be figured out. Sometimes the workflow leads you into creative vibes, but other times the clunkiness of the Mackie MIDI protocol, it's just bad. I do have to say that because I am super busy, I value ease of use, a slight learning curve, and quality above all else. So this one goes to Console 1, as the UF8 is a bit more posh, requires just a little bit more attention, has a steeper learning curve. And when I say steeper learning curve, I mean a Mount Everest of learning curves. Alright, so there it is, guys. I hope you liked the video. I promise this competition was not rigged like some of the other promotions we know out there. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you enjoyed it, go ahead and like the video. Be sure to subscribe and share this with anyone that you think may benefit from it. Thank you for supporting the channel. I'll see you on the next one.